It's 4:55 as of 3 seconds ago, and we're calling this meeting to order for all 5 of you in the audience. Okay. Our first matter of business is the approval of minutes for June 3rd, 2025. Do I have any corrections or adjustments or any additions?
No, I didn't see any.
Okay, then I will entertain a motion.
Yeah, go.
I move to approve the Municipal Building Authority meeting minutes from January 7th, 2025.
I
Or am I
said
looking at the wrong
Correction,
one?
June 3rd.
June 3rd.
June 3rd, sorry.
Okay.
My bad.
I got a
I was on the
motion
wrong
from,
page.
I've got a motion from
I got it. That's what you get for reading the
Board
teleprompter.
Member Goodman and a second from Councilmember Cotter. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Okay, and our first is a public hearing. We're going to consider a resolution of the Municipal Building Authority of Murray City adopting its budget for a fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2025 and ending June 30th, 2026. Brenda Moore presenting.
So we'll go over this really quick. The MBA budget basically consists of $3.1 million of revenue that they are receiving from the other funds to pay rent. Using that $3.1 million to pay the debt service, and then allocating $16 million towards the Public Works project from the reserves or the bond proceeds, which are the same thing. So that's all that's in this budget, and now I guess we have a public hearing.
Any questions? All right, then I will open this up for a public hearing. If you have any comments, limit your comments to 3 minutes, step to the microphone and state your city and your name and city. And I'm going to close this public hearing with that, and I will entertain a motion.
All right, I will make a motion to approve the resolution of the Municipal Building Authority of Murray City adopting its budget for fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2025 and ending June 30th, 2026.
I second it.
I've got a motion from Councilmember Turner and a second from Councilmember Pickett. Brooke, will you call the roll?
Mr. Pickett.
Aye.
Ms. Cotter.
Aye.
Mr. Goodman.
Aye.
Ms. Turner.
Aye.
Mr. Hawk.
Aye. All right, vote passes 5-0. And with that, I adjourn this meeting.
Good afternoon, everyone. We welcome everyone here today for the Murray City Municipal Council Community of the Whole, June 17th, 2025. The first, well, we have no minutes. We have all council members here. We have the mayor and Jennifer, our executive secretary, and Patty. Thank you for being here. We have no approval of minutes, so we will go right into the discussions of the items. The first is the Murray Senior Recreation Center with Hal Luke presenting. 10 minutes, Hal. Thank you for coming.
10 minutes?
Welcome, welcome.
See if I can move for this.
Usually I'm freezing.
Well,
I was prepared.
we do.
That's your house.
That's my house. Yeah, you like my house?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Pretty nice.
gorgeous. Wow.
Here. No bad trouble, huh? Whoa, how come it's not? Wait, did I get the wrong cord?
Yeah.
Oh, that's the house.
Start yanking.
Where is it?
Oh, I thought this was
There's
the
two
one.
cords.
Yeah, you hooked up the HDMI.
Yeah.
Isaac,
Yeah, you.
oh, here we go. No?
Oh, that's my mouse.
We always have two cords. Oh, here. It's got it. There.
You're so good, Patty.
Not really.
Well, wouldn't know.
Aha.
There we go.
Yay!
That's fun with technology. So I thank you for letting me come and talk to you about life in the Murray Active Aging Center, also known as the Murray Senior Center. Thank you for the support for the center. In the summer of 1965, pickleball was founded by Joel Pritchard, Bill Bell, and Barney McCollum in Bainbridge Island, Washington. By 1990, pickleball was played in all 50 states. As I understand, in 2009, Wayne, then the rec director for the center, decided to bring pickleball to the center. They started by taping off the courtyard here, of course, with the chairs, I'm sure they did when they played. About 5 or 6 years ago, we had two good courts that were built at the center, kind of the southeast corner of the properties behind the building. Every week during the summer, because the weather is good, the players start showing up about 7 o'clock in the morning and play for 2 or 3 hours until it gets hot. Of course, windy and rainy days are not very good because the balls don't like to post very good. But other than that, they try and get their good days in. During the winter, they start a little bit later, and they've even been known to play in coats and with their gloves on. Very challenging, I assume. I was told that there were probably been up to 25 players in the morning. Of course, players come and go as their schedules permit, so there's not always the same crew being there. The day I visited, there were 14 players, including 4 females. One of the females was so energetic that she rode her bike to the court. Medication. So, like I say, there's a lot of play going on if you don't understand pickleball at all. They even have a system of keeping track. This is sort of a paddleball holder. I mean a paddle holder, not a paddle holder. And supposedly you start at one end, and then as the teams rotate in, you kind of keep moving the paddle. That way each player serves with a certain team member and then also serves on the opposite team. So everybody gets a chance to really rotate around the situation.
Who made that, Hal?
I can't remember for sure, but I thought it was Ralph, I think is what I thought I remember. And of course, actually, there's one on each side because you got the dual courts, and so you've got,
That's a good idea.
yeah. And of course, because you have to wait sometimes, then you have to want a place to stay. But they seem to have a lot of good time playing. From time to time, the center has had beginner and intermediate pickleball classes. This picture here is of the oldest players that I understand. Lee, kind of in the red, is 98 years old, and he's had some sicknesses over the last little year, while he hasn't played a lot. But Ralph in the white is 96. Did I say 90? He's 98. Well, Lee is 98. So Ralph is 96, and he still plays quite often, quite a bit of time. What the picture shows here is they had some medals that they won back in St. George a couple, 3 years ago at the senior games down in St. George. But Ralph said that he has been playing at the center since 2009. So we thank you for a nice place to have a friendly, challenging event for the players to go by. They always try to be good there, and besides the rotation, they like to be a non-competitive environment. I said a lot of times when you go to some place courses, they don't like you to play because they're not up to their expertise. So here they like to keep a non-competitive atmosphere there. So
Honestly, Charles, he's a kid.
I know.
He's just a kid.
Yeah.
When I hear those ages, I'm going, he's young.
He always tells me Ralph was there. Right.
So again, I thank you for supporting the center and helping us to have a good environment for us old folks to get along with. Thank you.
So, Hal said that this invention was someone, is Corey here? I always thought Corey Plant invented pickleball. He comes as do you remember this, Corey? You came to us as a council back in 2012. He started talking about pickleball. I'd never heard of it in my life. All I could picture is I thought, why is Corey pushing shuffleboards? And I had to go look it up, and it ended up being, if you'd have done this for like your own investment, you'd be a billionaire right now. They were nowhere when you brought that up. I'd never heard of the sport. It is massive now.
It is. Like I say, by 1990, according to research, it's in all 50 states, so it really went pretty fast. So
Yeah, we've got some up here by the Myrtle, and they're packed all the time. They go up there.
Oh, and also the one on
And they're packed
Riverview. Oh,
Yeah.
constantly.
That was a good move to change.
It was a perfect move.
And it might be good to have.
I agree with you. She's staying up to by her park, because they have tennis courts up there, and they're not really.
use that.
But
much
the
probably
tennis
anymore.
courts on 54 by Hidden Village,
They're used. Huh?
they are used.
Yeah,
yeah.
I remember that. I drove by there the other day, and
Yeah.
they were out playing tennis.
Yeah.
But up there in that park, that would be, I'll follow that. Kim knows.
Good.
Yeah, pickleball, like I say, in the winter, a lot of times they don't come because they go to church houses close by. And they still do it, just a matter of not out in the cold so much, so.
Look great.
Yeah.
It's hard in the
great.
snow.
If you colored balls, it shouldn't be too bad.
Just shovel the area first.
But most of the time, they have to come out and blow the leaves off anyway, so, yeah, it's a little bit of snow.
Thanks, Hal.
Thank you, Hal.
On this and eat it.
Okay, so we're on discussion item number 2, discussion on an ordinance amending chapter 2.68 of the Murray City Municipal Code, changing the name of the MCCD Review Committee to the Form-Based Code Architectural Review Committee, making minor adjustments to the review committee's duties. Zachary Smallwood had 15 minutes. Thank you for being here.
Great, thank you. You explained it. What questions do you have? Just kidding.
Well, I had one, but,
You
you know. 'Cause-
You named the whole thing. We'd really just like to change since, the 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th, 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th, 30th, 31st, 32nd, 33rd, 34th, 35th, 36th, 37th, 38th, 39th, 40th, 41st, 42nd, 43rd, 44th, 45th, 46th, 47th, 48th, 49th, 50th, 51st, 52nd, 53rd, 54th, 55th, 56th, 57th, 58th, 59th, 60th, 61st, 62nd, 63rd, 64th, 65th, 66th, 67th, 68th, 69th, 70th, 71st, 72nd, 73rd, 74th, 75th, 76th, with the form-based code up for adoption this evening in the main city council, we thought we would come through with this as the next step, changing the MCCD review committee to the form-based code architectural review committee. It's really just as simple as that. We made some minor modifications just on the professional disciplines for the group. And then also the requirement for meeting quarterly. If I feel like if there's no application, there's really no reason to meet. And there was a requirement in the MCCD.
Will the committee members remain the same? Will they just transfer?
So we're still working that out at the moment. I think they will just remain the same.
Okay, that's the intent.
Yeah, that's the intent. Whether we have to go through and have the mayor reappoint them, I don't know. We'll work that out with GL because we don't know yet. So we'll work that out.
And maybe when we're done, you could explain to me with stick figures, membership terms and vacancy, that was very confusing, like one would go, the other stay, and then this would, so.
It's just to
Just
space
do-
out. Yeah,
yeah.
it spaces out everybody's terms so that we don't get everyone
Right,
up.
and I
in-
understand,
Yeah.
but the wording was confusing, so we'll
Yeah.
just talk about that
For sure.
later. Thank you, that was my only question.
Awesome.
So 2 questions.
Yeah.
First one, why are you hating on history?
I'm not hating on
You're
history.
hating on historians.
However,
As a historian, I'm
Yeah.
feeling hated on.
do you
Just kidding.
feel you could adequately
No, it's
represent
not.
on architectural
No,
design?
it makes sense. I just wanted to
Yes.
throw it in there. So is there any requirement for them to meet like annually, or is it just?
Just as applications come
Just
up.
applications.
We'll typically have like a yearly meeting in like in January to elect a chair and vice chair. But other than that, no, it just as applications are needed.
Okay.
Look at that, 15 minutes,
No questions.
down to 30 seconds.
Good job.
No other questions? Okay,
Thank you.
so it looks like we have discussed all the items on the agenda, so I will close this meeting.
Hey, it is 5:30 and welcome to the Redevelopment Agency of Murray City. This is Tuesday, June 17th. And everybody is in their places. I don't see anyone missing, so that's good. So we're all good. We have an agenda that has 5 items on it, and the first is the approval of minutes for April 15th, 2025, and May 13th, 2025, and I will take them together if there are no questions or changes. I would appreciate a motion.
Okay, I move to approve the minutes of April 15th, 2025, and May 13th, 2025.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? Probably not. We'll continue on. So, Brooke, would you call the roll?
Mr. Hawk?
Aye.
Mr. Pickett?
Aye.
Ms. Cotter?
Aye.
Mr. Goodman?
Aye.
Ms. Turner?
Aye. Okay. Now we are at the portion of the meeting which is for citizen comments, and all citizen comments are limited to 3 minutes or less, and email comments will be entered into the meeting record. So I will open this for citizen comments. Okay, seeing none, we will continue on. Number 3 is a public hearing, which is to consider a resolution of the Redevelopment Agency of Murray City adopting its fiscal year 2025-2026 final budget. Brenda Moore presenting. Hi, Brenda. Welcome.
Hello, I really don't need an assistant, but it's his computer.
It's always nice to have one.
Yes. Okay, so we're here to discuss the RDA budget. We'll go over it really quickly by area, just to kind of get everybody familiar. We have Fire Clay. They're going to get 1.9 in increment, earn some interest. They have expenditures for low, moderate income housing of $663,000. Private reimbursement, repaying the developers for work they did in the site, $850,000. The Murray School District, professional services, admin fees, and utility reimbursement, which is going to the solid wastewater fund for the sewer lines they put over there. The smelter site, that is no longer collecting increment. It will earn interest on the funds that it does have. We're going to pay out the rest of their low-income housing reserve that needs to be spent so that they will be done with that, and then anything in there can be used for anything that's appropriate for the RDA area. And we have professional services in there of $100,000 just so that they have money if we need to do any studies or anything sitting there. East Vine is going to collect increment of 49. We're going to send it some admin fees. We don't have any projects right now, but we will find some in the future. Cherry Street, it's no longer collecting. We are hoping to close that at the end of this fiscal year. Central Business District, we have the tax increment of around $1 million. The sale of the old City Hall of $9.5 million. Interest, rent, that's on the T rows. Everything else is vacant now. The general fund transfer for the property that we're sitting on, and then the expenditures, they have low-income housing, the private reimbursement of up to $4.5 million for the Block 1 development, Murray School District, professional services, admin fees, miscellaneous, just in case we need to do anything during the year so we don't have to come running if we need an appraisal or something. Admin fees, the bond payment on the properties that are around here. Any questions?
I have go back. Would you go back to the last slide?
That's a good question. Yep.
Okay. In revenue, you have sale of the old City Hall property as $9,520,000. We have not received that yet.
No, it's just budgeted because we will most likely receive it next year.
Okay, so we will receive it, and we can still put it as revenue even though?
We haven't received the increment yet either, but we will receive increment. It's my best guess, it'll be $1,053,000, but it could be different, but yeah. It's a budget, so if we actually don't sell the old City Hall property, we won't receive that, which
We'll just take it off?
you just passed something, yes, that said, or that gave them some more deadlines. So hopefully by this time, by Christmas, hopefully, we will have our money sitting there and we can then be figuring out what to do with whatever's left over after the 4.5 goes out. So,
Okay, and it might seem kind of confusing if you don't have an understanding that,
yeah, but it is under contract, so we should receive that at some point in the future.
all right.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, I will open this for public comment. It is a public hearing, so anyone who would like to comment on this agenda item, now's the time. Okay, I'll close the public hearing and put it to the board. Does the board have any questions at this point for Brenda? Okay, then I would appreciate a motion.
A motion to approve the resolution of the Redevelopment Agency of Murray City adopting its fiscal year 2025-2026 final budget.
I second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? Okay, seeing none, Brooke, would you call the roll?
Mr. Hawk?
Aye.
Mr. Pickett?
Aye.
Ms. Cotter?
Aye.
Mr. Goodman?
Aye.
Ms. Turner?
Aye. Thank you, Brooke. All right, now we are on number 4, which is an action item, and that is to consider a resolution approving an agreement between the Redevelopment Agency of Murray City and Salt Lake Neighborhood Housing DBA Neighbor Works Salt Lake for a contribution of funds to be used for down payment assistance and home improvement loans and grants for qualifying households. Elvon Farrell presenting. Hi, Elvon.
Hi, how are you? Can you hear me
Good.
all right? All right, so as you know, with the RDA, we have about, from our tax increment, we keep a portion of that for housing projects. So from the tax increment that we get, the state requires us to designate a certain portion of that to go into housing. And we have often worked with NeighborWorks Salt Lake. It's been a long-standing relationship. We have an agreement with them that outlines what that relationship is. But in that agreement, it doesn't specifically say how much funds they'll be receiving each year. So each year we look at that and we consider a new fund allocation for NeighborWorks to run their down payment assistance and their home improvement programs here in Murray City. And so I just wanted to quickly give you an update from this previous fiscal year and the funds that we allocated to them. So this last fiscal year, we allocated $400,000, $200,000 specifically for down payment assistance, and $200,000 for home improvement programs. And then we also have our $150,000 in ongoing employee down payment assistance. So from those funds, starting with down payment assistance, they were able to help with 7 homes, which facilitated amount of over $2 million, which is meaning that's the value of those homes altogether that they were able to help with. And so with the home improvement and rehabilitation, There's one completed and 3 in the process right now. And so with the home improvement program, there's still a remaining balance of $20,000 in that program. But, so that program typically takes longer. They have to do an evaluation of the home. They have to get bids from multiple contractors, and then there's actual the timeline for doing those projects with that home. So it takes a little while. But those 3 in process are already accounted for in those funds that we have designated to them. And then for employee down payment assistance, we have helped with 2 homes, and which has facilitated the amount of $503,000. So we're really appreciative of the work that NeighborWorks does here in Murray City. The new CEO, Bryce Garner, is here with us, and so just wanted to make sure you saw him and can meet him later or ask him any questions you'd like as well. But for right now, that's the report on the last fiscal year. We have recommended in the resolution and the agreement to do similar to what we have done in the previous year, where we do $400,000 and specifically designate $200,000 to each program to make sure that we're utilizing each of those programs. Any questions?
It sounds good, and that's what we had talked about, was 200,000 for.
Yeah.
I do have a
each.
question, though.
Yes,
You talk about here the facilitated amount, and you said that's the total price of the facilities that were able to be purchased or repaired with that amount. What was the actual amount that we gave for down payment assistance? What was the actual amount we gave for that?
Yeah, most of those down payment assistance have a limit of $30,000.
30,000.
For
Okay.
each of those.
So we had 2 homes that received the down payment assistance last year, so we,
For
Is
the
that what it says on there,
For the
right?
employee down payment assistance.
Employee
yeah. So
down
we
payment
had two
and 7.
employees take advantage of
Okay.
that program.
Excellent. Thank you for clarifying that for my little thick skull. Appreciate it.
No, that's great.
I have a couple questions. 9 homes total, which is nice, but that's not very many. Why? Why is it limited? Is it funding? Is it we're not finding AMI thresholds too hard? Like, why aren't we able to help out more people? That's my question.
So it is limited by the funding that we're providing. So they've utilized the funding that we gave to them. For getting the homes here in Murray, they typically need the whole 30,000 amount, not just a portion of that. So that does go rather quickly. And it is relatively few people, but you can also think of these as families as well, not just one individual, as most of these programs or most of these loans and grants benefit a family who's taking advantage of this program. But it is mostly limited by the funds that we provide to NeighborWorks.
So if we made, what kind of tweaks would we need to make to broaden it so more people could use it?
It need to increase the funds, yeah.
So are we turning away people?
Yes,
So if we had more funds, we would be able to help out more people.
yes.
So how did we get to 200,000? I know that's kind of been has that just been our historical number?
yeah, it's
Yes.
400.
But 2 for down payment and 2 for,
Right,
so,
that's what we did last year, right?
Yes.
Correct,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah. that's
And
kind
we
of-
did run out of the down payment assistance funds
That's
last
right.
year in October.
Do we have the money to be able to increase it?
Yes,
Brenda's
Yes.
shaking her head yes.
Yes.
So if we were to do that, Brenda, could you come up and
yeah, I will say, we've also kind of kept that at 400,000 in case there's other types of projects for housing that we wanted to utilize in the city as well.
So in the budget you just passed, there's a total of 600,000 that's available for low-income housing. And in the areas, all the areas combined, at the end of This year, I'm predicting there will be $3 million sitting there for low-income housing projects. This is going to use some of them because we'll probably only collect or increase based on increment and 300. So this, if you spend all 600, it would increase, it would use some of the reserves. But yeah, there's $3 million basically sitting out there.
So we could increase it by 200,000.
Yeah, you could easily increase it
Do
by
six.
200 without me having to do a budget opening, but throughout the year, you could increase it higher than that, and then come September, we'd have to do a budget opening, and that would be the first one, and increase the amount that we spend. But
So if we increased it to 6, then we can reevaluate that if,
you could reevaluate
you know,
it.
there's so much interest and has been, and if that continues, then might be something we might want to reevaluate and maybe start out at 600. Okay?
I would love to see it, maybe add the 200 down the road. Let's see what happens first, and then,
Because I want to say, you didn't come to us last year, but the year before in the fiscal year, I feel like we used all 200,000, and mid-year, NeighborWorks came and asked for an additional 200,000. So maybe it is looking at a budget opening, and if you run out in October, maybe we're doing the next budget opening, we give additional funds then.
yeah, I think we could
So it's
revisit it
that.
then. I feel comfortable about that.
Okay, so then just continue with the 400?
For now, yeah,
Yeah.
continue at 400, and then
And
if there's a need later on,
But
let's
yeah,
come back and revisit
But
it
bring it
and add
back.
more money
If
to it.
if we're out in October, we want to know.
Great. We will definitely let you know.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
are we all okay with that?
Yeah.
This is an action item, so is there further questions?
Yeah, I have a question. I don't know if you can answer or the new gentleman that is now part of NeighborWorks. Do we know anything of what's going on with Trip Lane and the houses and what's happening there? That is my district and my neighborhood, so I was just curious, because people are going, where are the houses, where are the houses? And I said, well, when we have an RDA meeting, I'll ask where the houses are. So I don't know if you can answer it or the new gentleman that you have introduced us to.
That may be better in
Yeah.
updates, since this agenda item isn't
Oh,
that item.
Yes,
So
we can give you an
when-
update on.
Okay.
Check us at the
Yeah,
update
so you
every
could
meeting.
do that actually in the project update area. Okay.
oh,
Yes, we'd be
yes.
happy to.
So,
I'm
right.
sorry, yes, thank you, GL. Yes, project update, yes.
Okay, so since this is an action item, I would appreciate a motion if there are no further questions.
Oh, do you have a question?
So a motion to approve the resolution for an agreement between the redevelopment agency of Murray City and Salt Lake Neighborhood Housing Services, DBA NeighborWorks Salt Lake, for a contribution of funds to be used for down payment assistance and home improvement loans and grants for qualifying households.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there discussion on the motion? Okay, seeing none. Brooke, would you call the roll?
Mr. Hawk?
Aye.
Mr. Pickett?
Aye.
Ms. Cotter?
Aye.
Mr. Goodman?
Aye.
Ms. Turner?
Aye. Okay, motion passes unanimously. We are now at number 5, which is the project area updates. Chad Wilkinson presenting.
Thank you. Chair, board members, I'm actually going to invite Elvon back up to give our Trip Lane update really quick before I jump into the project area updates.
I'm sorry, Chad.
No problem.
I even read my agenda. I should have known.
So Trip Lane has started construction on the first 3 homes. So we should have had something up here with pictures, but it is exciting. So they're going to start with those first 3 and then sell those and then go on from there, just to make sure that they have the funding to be able to continue the construction.
Now, way back, I don't know how many years, NeighborWorks was thinking that the I would buy one, I would own the house but not the property. Now, is it that they own the house and the property now? Is that how we understand these houses are going to be sold?
Yes, yeah, so
Okay.
there, it wasn't put into a land trust, and
Okay.
so it is going to be that whoever purchases it will own land and property.
Okay, great. I'm very, very excited with that and the junior high, so this is great. I'm very excited to see these houses go in.
Great.
Thank you.
But, one other question on that, what's the asking price on those houses? I do.
They're going to be market rate. They're doing that intentionally to not drive down the market in the nearby neighborhood. And so they'll calculate that once they're getting closer to completion.
Thank you, Elvon.
Okay, thanks. We just want to do a really brief, this will be very brief, update on some of what's going on in some of these areas. We've talked about some of this information at our RDA planning meeting. Thought it would be good for the entire board to hear some of this information. We're going to start with the CBD area, Central Business District area. You've been very aware of some of the things that are going on. Wanted to just give you an update. We have been working on that parking agreement with Rockworth. We anticipate that at your next board meeting in July. So we have, again, been ironing out some of the legal wording in that agreement and hope to have that to you very soon. And we've incorporated much of what you talked about during your workshop into that parking agreement. So unless there's any other questions on that, that's all I had to say about that.
Okay.
Okay. Fire clay, we went through the budget numbers. Those were kind of the overall budget. Just want to talk a little bit, going to drill down a little bit. So we do have 3 active reimbursement or participation agreements in that area. So every year, once the tax increment has been calculated by the county and distributed to the city, we do our own calculations and distribute a portion of that tax increment money to these 3 participation agreement participants. So just to give you an idea of what that is, Fire Clay Phase 1, which, as you're aware, is over on the west side of the, trying to get my cursor to come up with my finger, but it's on the west side of the tracks there. Fire Clay Phase 1, $376,000 roughly with their participation agreement disbursement this year. Hamlet, which was our first agreement in that area, which you know hopefully where that's at there on Fire Clay Avenue in Maine. That particular project was reimbursed for $255,000 and some change. And then the last one is Parley's Partners, which is Hooper Knowlton's project there up Main Street in Fire Clay on the other corner, the northeast corner of Fire Clay in Maine. That one received $119,000 and some change. So that's just an update on where we're at. We're also working on the annual report that goes to the state. That used to be called the November 1st report, and it used to be due on November 1st. That got so ingrained in some of us old timers' minds that we always think we have more time than we do. We don't. That's due at the end of this month. So we are working on that actively, and we'll have that submitted to the state for their review. And that's really, that report, and when that's ready, that'll also be distributed to the RDA board. That really is just a summary of what have we worked on in the last year, how are we using these funds, what kind of increment was generated over the last year. So that will be done shortly. Any questions on the Fire Clay area? One last update, and that is the ore sampling mill RDA area. This one, we've had several meetings and with a couple of different folks. We've met with the primary property owner in this area, which is the owner of that ore sampling mill site, and discussed at some length the challenges that site has. There has been a significant amount of environmental remediation work that's been done. It, I think, has been even more than what was originally anticipated as far as cost and the amount of work that has to be done to remove some of those materials that are on the site. So we've had some good discussions with them about that. We have an agreement that limits the amount of increment that we're able to give to that project based on some projections of the generation. We've also met with representatives of at least one of our taxing entity committee, and there's also concern from our taxing entity committees about when do we pull the trigger on collecting that tax increment. We haven't pulled that trigger yet. Some of the considerations that we look at as far as when to pull that trigger are, has development occurred that will allow us to increase that increment? If you pull too early, then the increment that's generated is not is not what you projected. So we're looking at that very closely. There has been expressed by at least one of our taxing entities a desire for us to do that fairly soon. They haven't given us a deadline, but as a participant and a partner on this, they do have some interest in when we pull that trigger. So in the coming weeks and within the next few months, we'll be having a discussion with the RDA board a little bit more about what would be the best plan for triggering that increment. And also, triggering the increment also allows us to start to reimburse for some of the work that's already been done by that developer. So that's another important thing for us to discuss. So any questions on the ore sampling mill RDA area?
No? You look troubled.
Okay, thank you very much. That's my updates.
Oh, I know. Okay, that is the end of our agenda. We are adjourned. We are adjourned, I'm sorry.
Call this meeting to order, the Murray City Municipal Council meeting. Thank you for attending tonight. We're going to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, and I've asked Mark Musinski to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Mark, would you come up to the microphone?
Please repeat after me. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate you doing that. All righty, there are no minutes to approve, so we'll move forward with that. We have the fun part of the meeting, which is the citizen comments. So citizens, we want to hear from you. What's in your minds? Yeah, so you're going to have 3 minutes. Step up to the microphone, state your name, your city of residence, and then you'll fill out the required form for that. So let's hear you guys.
Dear council members, now that I've explained the bill that I'm trying to get passed through legislation, I want to take a moment to share who we, as Stand Against Fear and Exploitation SAFE, and what we are. We are a Utah-based 501c4 nonprofit. We are a movement of survivors, advocates, families, and everyday citizens committed to one mission: protecting the vulnerable and demanding accountability wherever harm hides. Yes, we are focused on our sex offender registry reform, but that's just one of our current campaigns. SAFE also works to expose systematic failures in how institutions handle abuse, whether it's government, religion, or education. Advocates for victims of domestic violence, elder abuse, trafficking, and institutional cover-ups. Support families who's lost loved ones due to preventable tragedies, and push for laws to make communities safer, more informed, and more empowered. We're not just a one-issue group. We're a force for change whenever fear is used to silence people. We're here tonight not asking for money, but for your support. Support in numbers, not in names. No one will be publicly listed. No council member's name will be posted or publicized. We simply need collective backing to show lawmakers that communities across Utah are demanding stronger protections. When you stand with SAFE, we're saying we care, we believe in justice, and we're not afraid to take a stand. Thank you for your time, for standing with SAFE and the safety and the justice and dignity in truth.
Could you state your name, please, and your city?
Oh, yes, Chanel Hill and Taylorsville.
Thank you, Chanel. Appreciate that. Make sure that green button is lit up.
Now it's lit up.
All righty.
Yeah, that's better. Now you can hear me, I guess. My name is Dylan Barney. I reside in Murray City. I came across an interesting article while I was doing some research. I'll just read the article. Murray must work. Work, not wishes, will make Murray a bigger and better town. A city, like an individual, will either go ahead or it will go back. There is no standing still. If an individual has energy and enterprise and industry and good judgment and thrift, he or she will get ahead. If he or she has one of these qualities or lacks in the more important ones of them, he or she will run behind. There is no standing still. The same thing is true of a community, a town, a city. If it has enough men and women of vision and energy and concern for the future prosperity of the town, a larger and more prosperous city, its institutions will multiply. There will be more industry come to the gates of that city, and more of the things that make for a bigger and better and more prosperous city. No community has a dozen men or women with enough concern about the future of the place to give such thought and work and money to the development of the town is going to stand still. It will progress in direct ratio to the effort put forth. Murray will be just as big and as prosperous as its citizens want it to be. The secret to every community's success is not wishing for bigger and better things. The secret of happiness lies in working for them. And I want to thank you and the citizens for that work. This article I just read was from Murray City, Utah, Thursday, November 14th, 1929. A lot of changes happened since then. And next to it is a picture showing a couple that represents kind of that pattern. They were celebrating on November 15th, 1929, their 50th wedding anniversary. And last but not least, I would like to thank those of the Army for their service, those that are still in the Army and those that have served. I've got a sister that served in the Army, and especially on this 250th anniversary of their formation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any order. The first one up grabs it.
I haven't been here before, so.
Well, tell us your name and the city you're from.
Okay, do I need to hit a button?
And the green button's on.
Oh,
We
it's
can hear
on.
you.
Okay. My name is Therese Walton, and I'm a Salt Lake City resident, but a property owner in Murray. And the property that our company owns is the Jiffy Lube on State and 4949 South, or Vine. And due to like our office moving, we didn't get any of the notices about the form-based code change, if I said that right. And I don't have a problem with it. I think it's probably very positive. So I'm not here to speak out against it. I just wanted to comment that, so our tenant is there, our tenant is Jiffy Lube, and they are there for a while. I wouldn't be able to ask them to leave if I wanted to. But one day, they'll maybe leave. And so the property has some constraints due to size and shape. And so in reading through, some of the requirements with parking and setbacks kind of seem favorable, but there's some other things. So I'm just really here to make a statement that one day I hope that the city, and you all sitting here might not even be here then, would be willing to work with property owners when, like, for example, office on the first floor is not allowed. And maybe down the road that will be the best use for our site. So I just wanted to make a comment for the record that one day I hope that whether it's a plan development or we have to change some zoning for that particular site, that will be listened to. So that's all. Thank you.
Good evening. Hello, my name's Amanda Gardner. I am a resident of Syracuse, Utah. Don't hold that against me because I have called Murray my home for 10 years, where I work every single day at the Murray Boys and Girls Clubs and as the CEO for Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater Salt Lake. I wanted to thank you for your opportunity to speak with you tonight regarding the proposed allocation of funds to support our programs that will be in your budget for consideration tonight, and thank the committee leadership for considering our application and recommending to move forward with those requested funds. I do want to speak that those funding levels that are requested are consistent with previous year funds with no increase, and ask of increased funding support from you just to maintain the current and previous levels of support that you have been so generous to give to our kids and our clubs here in Murray. The funding has allowed us to serve hundreds of families in Murray every year by keeping our doors open during the critical hours when kids are most at risk and working parents are still on the job. Our club provides academic support, mentoring, healthy meals, mental health resources, and enrichment activities that many families simply can't access elsewhere. For many working parents in Murray, we are the bridge that allows them to maintain employment, knowing that their children are safe and cared for and learning. While we are actively seeking other funding opportunities and have a long history of successful fundraising in our community, the truth is the current landscape of the federal grants is uncertain and highly competitive. The continued support of our city partners is more important now than ever before. Your investment in our programs is not just the support for a nonprofit, it's direct support for public safety, education, workforce stability, and family well-being in the community. I know you've heard from our kids, from our teens, from many of our parents, but I wanted to share with you the words of one of our Murray parents who recently wrote to me, and she said, "My heart goes out to all of you who make a difference for our children. What you give to our children today will reflect in our future tomorrow." Your vote of support for this funding makes you a part of that promise as well. You become a part of giving to our future tomorrow, because the kids are our future. Murray needs club kids. They will be our next leaders, our next teachers, our next nurses, doctors, all of those amazing things they will go on to do here in Murray. So the club, Murray needs club kids, and our club kids need you. Thank you for your continued partnership and for believing in the power of what we can build together. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Nan Parker Reed. Can you hear me today? I know that's one of my difficult things, to get close to this microphone. I just want to thank the current council and the mayor for all the dedication they have given to our city. And some of you might not be up there in a few weeks, but I just wanted to congratulate you for doing such a good job. I kind of have two public service announcements. The first is Meet the Candidate Night, which is coming up a week from Thursday, June 26th at 6 p.m. at the Armory, the new beautiful building that just got built, and we've had an event in it already. I have a few flyers that I'm going to put in the back, if that's okay. I also have a few flyers with my information on the back that I won't put in the back. They'll be with me if you want that information. I am running for City Council District 3. I wanted to give you that information. I also wanted to say I live off of 4800 South, and that is an area that is being well patrolled now by Murray City, so much so that I'm getting comments saying, how many police do we need there to patrol that space right now? So we might be overdoing it just a teeny bit, but anyway, I appreciate the dedication by our police officers. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any more public comments? Seeing there are none, I close the public comment section. Thank you for those that came up and spoke. Alrighty, now we're going to move to the special recognition of the Murray City Employee of the Month. You know, it'd be fun to have like an envelope, like in Miss America, and we tear it open. We don't quite have that, so we just have a folder that we open up and read from. But we're going to come down, right, Mayor, and do that and announce the Murray Employee of the Month. We're going to honor today one of our friends, Elvon Farrell. So, Elvon, Chad, you want to join us there? I should have just stayed up there. The microphone worked better up there, so. No, it's with great honor that we get to stand up here for just a few seconds and honor Elvon. I think we've been in this job together the same amount of time. I think you came in about the same time I came in, maybe a few months before I did. As far as I'm concerned, you've been working here forever, but it says here you've been working here 2 years, right? You made quite a difference in 2 years. Let me tell you the reason why you're being recognized today. Elvon is being recognized for his efforts in representing Murray City in the planning and carrying out the first ever downtown block party in conjunction with the grand opening of the Murray Museum. Look at that. You're a party monster. Elvon worked closely with members of Murray City Downtown District for many weeks leading up to the event, attending meetings, coordinating approvals, and answering multiple questions from the committee. On the day of the event, Elvon worked from sunup to sundown, assisting in any way he could to make the event a success, and it was a success. Elvon represented the city very well and is deserving of the Employee of the Month recognition. What do you think, Mayor?
Oh, I don't know, I question that a little bit, but no, I'm just, no, we are, thank you, just what Paul said. We're so appreciative for you. You have worked, all our employees work hard, but it's been fun to watch, be involved with you with our projects and things like that. You've done a great job. And so just from Murray City, from the administration side, we want to say thank you for all you've done for our city. It was great meeting your wife at the Armory a few weeks ago for the chamber event, but you have just put in your heart and soul into this. And I don't know if Paul remembers this, but he'd been here for about an hour and then had decided maybe he wasn't going to stay. And Phil had to do a lot of talking to keep this guy. Anyway, he decided to stay. I was nervous because he was doing such a good job. It was really a few months. But anyway, so we're glad that you stayed with us, and hopefully you are too. So just from the administration and also Paul from the council, we want to tell you how much we appreciate you. So thank you. Hey, Chad.
Chad, say a few words.
Say some words and let me take my.
Thanks, I'll be really brief, but, there's a few positions in the city, there's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes that, there's, a lot of people that have a lot of work they do behind the scenes to support the city. There are a few positions, though, that really represent the face of the city for that particular function, and Elvon is that for our economic development in the city. Besides the work he does on the block, or he did on the block party, he also goes out and meets with local businesses, meets with the Murray Downtown District. He is really that public face for the city for that function, and he does an excellent job, represents the city very well. So very deserving of this recognition, and I want to give him one more round of applause. Thank you.
All right, so here's your certificate with that. Thank you. You want to see it in your office. And there's a little gift card for you, but it's not for you, it's for you to take your wife out to dinner, right?
That's right. Here in Murray.
Here in Murray.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay. Mayor, you want to stay here? All right, the next item, we're just going
Paul?
to stay down here.
Councilmember Pickett, can I just add one thing?
What is one thing?
About Elvon.
About Elvon.
Yes, that we're kind of underselling his work on that block party. He literally gave up his skin for this. He was bright red at the end of it because he worked sun up to sundown. So it was a sacrifice that I don't think we can really quantify.
Wonderful, thank you. All right, so Mayor now has another fun special recognition. He's going to recognize and introduce our new Miss Murray.
I am.
There you go.
Thank you. Alexis, will you come on up here? I've known Alexis for a long time. Do you go by Lexi?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure. I wanted to say that, but then I thought, well, you're going to say, no, I don't. Anyway, Lexi she's worked for the city as a cadet for our fire department. And did you work with the police also? Gosh, she's done it all. And anyway, we just really appreciate and congratulate you on this honor. Really, that night watching you looked pretty surprised.
I was.
You were surprised, and I thought you did a great job, and we're grateful to all those that take lead on this and help with this. But anyway, so we just wanted to introduce, I know most of you know Lexi Thompson, but I just wanted to introduce you to her, and then she will also do a little introduction of herself. But anyway, right now, from the city, we just want to congratulate you and thank you for all you've done. So thank you.
Do I do my part right now?
Yep, do your part.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I was taught how to do this. Hopefully I do it right. I have made a little slideshow. Okay, good evening, members of City Council, and thank you, Mayor. Like the Mayor said, my name is Alexis Thompson, and I am honored to introduce myself as Miss Murray 2025. It is a privilege to represent the city I live in, the city I love, and the city I serve. And I'm excited to spend my year of service giving back to this amazing community. A little bit about my professional background. Outside my role as Miss Murray, I work in EMS, and I have for over 4 years now. Utilizing Murray's very own cadet program, I was able to fine-tune my skills from a young age, learn new things, while having the opportunity to serve, protect, and save lives in our community. I have firsthand experience responding to 911 calls, providing critical care during emergencies, and supporting families and patients during some of their most vulnerable moments. Working in EMS has given me a deep respect for our first responders, and it has shown me how crucial it is for members of the public to be educated and prepared to act in emergencies. I remember a time where I didn't know what to do. I was once a bystander as well. I was 16, new to the field. It was my first week, and I responded on a cardiac event call. I was scared. I didn't know CPR, and I ended up having to go home early that day because I was too nervous. And quite frankly, I almost didn't go back. In hindsight, Murray Fire knew they would have to teach me. They knew I did not know everything, and they knew I was too young to be certified anyway. I ended up going back, and I learned so much from that experience. I wanted to take a moment to speak about the value of the Miss Murray program itself, because this experience has changed my life, and I've only been Miss Murray for about a month and a half. I competed for Miss Murray 3 times before earning the crown. Each time I stepped on that stage, I walked away stronger, more confident, and more prepared for leadership. I kept returning, not for the title, but because of what I was learning along the way. How to communicate with purpose, how to serve with empathy, how to advocate for causes bigger than myself, and how to be a role model for others in my city. I also became a part of a sisterhood, an amazing group of women coming together to advocate for things they care about. Even though we were all so different, none of us had the same CSI. We were able to connect, unite, and learn together. This was my year of service as the second attendant, my second year competing. This program cultivates confidence, community leadership, and personal development skills in young women. The skills I've built along the way, public speaking, civic engagement, professionalism, and resilience, are tools I carry and will carry long after my reign ends. For those of you who don't know, firefighter interviews are very intense. They tend to have a panel between 5 to 10 men standing before you with their one goal to intimidate you. However, nothing was more intimidating than my Miss Murray interviews. With all of my practice, preparation, and continuation in the program, the firefighter interviews were a piece of cake. This Miss Murray program is not just about crowns and sashes. It's about empowering young women to become community leaders, and I'm living proof of that impact. This program changes people. It gives people the opportunity to try things outside of their comfort zone, and I am proof that everyone has a place at the Miss Murray table. I don't have a performing arts talent, and I'm not used to being on stage. I'm not what you picture when you think of a pageant girl. And I'm also not what you picture when you think of a firefighter. However, this organization has made me realize that there isn't a certain type of person that has to compete in pageants, and there isn't a certain type of firefighter, because anyone could do it. Anyone. I will continue to advocate for the continued investment in this program to ensure that future Miss Murray candidates have the opportunity to grow, lead, and give back to the city just as I am. It is because of this program and this program alone that I have the confidence to stand before you today and advocate for cause that I truly and deeply care about. My platform as Miss Murray this year is called Every Second Counts. It is an initiative to promote CPR awareness and training. This initiative is focused on educating the public about hands-only CPR, which is a simple skill that can truly save lives. Nearly 70% of cardiac arrests happen at home, and yet many bystanders feel unprepared to help. By equipping people with the skills and confidence to perform CPR, we can literally change outcomes and save lives in our community. In addition, women have a 48% higher chance of not receiving CPR from a bystander solely because people are scared of touching their chest. I know I would rather be alive than dead. Throughout the year, I plan to utilize my connection with Murray Fire and the programs they already have in place. There is the Community Emergency Response Team. Should a mass casualty incident happen, such as an earthquake, these people can and have been trained with life-saving skills that are taught within that class. It also relieves pressure off of our first responders. They cannot do everything in that mass casualty incident, and as many people we can get to know how to help will relieve pressure off of them. In addition, Murray Fire has been teaching CPR and other basic first aid skills to immigrants in the area. They provide the training, the supplies, and the expertise. Through the program, they have translators there to relay the information. This not only unites the minority demographic in our city, but it helps build trust in our first responders. It helps unite the minorities with our first responders. Oh, sorry, my pages are stuck. Finally, Murray High has an excellent EMS program, one I went through personally. This program teaches high schoolers EMS and can even get them certified if they choose to complete the national testing. Having helped with this class before, I know the lifelong difference it can make in high schoolers, their career choices, and the lifelong skills that they know. My goal as Miss Murray this year is to enhance community preparedness by making CPR training accessible, approachable, and empowering for all ages. I plan to partner with city departments and community organizations to align my CSI with public safety goals and health goals. I will represent the city of Murray with pride at public events, festivals, and parades all across Utah. My summer is full of parades already. I plan to engage with the youth and schools to prepare leadership, volunteerism, and public service through classroom visits and community outreach. And finally, I plan to promote civic involvement and local pride by highlighting people, places, and stories that make Murray unique. I would like to thank you all for allowing me the opportunity to speak with you today and for everything you've done to keep Murray safe, strong, and thriving. I look forward to working with many of you throughout the year and making a meaningful impact of service, outreach, and connection. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexis. What a fine representative you are for the city of Murray. Thank you. All right, moving on now to the consent agenda. Mayor, you have a presentation to make about an appointment.
Marcy, will you please stand for us? Thank you. Now, Marcy, I'm not going to destroy that name, so I'm going to let you say it. Say it a little louder. Musinski. I probably didn't say it right. But anyway, thank you for being here. We had the opportunity to meet with Marcy, and we highly recommend her to participate on our library board. We have, let's see, who's with you? Julia. Oh, Julia. Do you guys know Julia? She's our new library director. Congratulations. I think that deserves a big hand here for that. She's lived in Murray. Julia's lived in Murray your entire life, right? She's here and she is wonderful. And we all assumed she was going to get it, but that's one thing that doesn't fall under the administration. That even though their budget does, that falls under the library board. Most boards are advisory, but the library board is its own entity, and they make their own decisions. So, Marcy, you're going to be, as long as they say yeah, you're going to be involved with some big decisions. So, okay, so without further ado, we present Marcy before you and ask for your consideration for her to be on the library board for a term beginning July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2028.
Thank you, Mayor, for that. And Council, I would like to entertain a motion.
I am so excited. I would like to move to approve the confirmation of the mayor's appointment of Marcy Musinski to the library board for a term of beginning July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2028. Thank you.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Brooke, will you take roll?
Ms. Cotter?
Aye.
Mr. Goodman?
Aye.
Ms. Turner?
Aye.
Mr. Hawk?
Aye.
Mr. Pickett?
Aye.
Congratulations, Marcy.
It
That's
passes.
it.
You're on.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for being here, Julia.
Thank you, Marty. Thank you, Mayor, for that presentation. All right. Fun stuff's over. Let's get down to business now. Yeah, the bottom half of the agenda is all work now, so no more fun stuff. Those of you who came for presentations, you're excused to leave if you'd like to leave, or stick around and listen to us babble numbers, because there'll be a lot of numbers babbled from here on out. All right. So we're going to have a few public hearings. The first one will be considering an ordinance repealing Chapter 17.170 of the Murray City Center MCCD of the Murray City Municipal Code. And we're going to have Zach Smallwood present that one.
I know I bumble my words a lot, but geez, you don't have to call me out. Jeez.
Notice I didn't
And
read
I'm not fun either. Oh,
Look, I didn't read the whole heading, so you could read it yourself.
I guess. All right, so thank you, council. This is a request from the City Planning Division to a land use tax amendment repealing Chapter 17.170, which is the Murray City Center District, and enacting Chapter 17.171, the City Center Form-Based Code. These are actually two agenda items, and so the second one is a zone map amendment to rezone properties to City Center Form-Based Code, CCFBC. So I'll just go ahead and get started. So this is approximately 86 acres, most of which is within the MCCD zone currently. There are 3 parcels that are zoned in the CD, which is commercial development. They're right up here in the top northeast of the map. It's this property here and then these 2 little properties here. They made sense to loop them in through the steering committee. We had a discussion about what properties make sense to include into the form-based code, and these ones were included in that. A little bit of history as to why we're doing this. The 2017 general plan called for 5 initiatives. The main, or well, not main, but initiative number 1 was a focus on the city center district, continuing to develop that and moving forward with development of the downtown. One of the best practices for that city initiative is a form-based code, which you can see highlighted in red. We had gone back and forth on whether we really wanted to move forward with that. Ultimately, here we are. Also, back in 2024, the City Council adopted the Downtown Strategic Plan. That also, recommendation number 1 was to implement a form-based code in the Murray City Center District. So what we largely heard from the community through multiple visioning exercises is that they really cared about what the look and the feel of the district was. And the form-based code really gets us to more of a traditional type of building environment where we're really focused on how the buildings interact with one another, as opposed to traditional Euclidean zoning, which would focus more on the actual use and then worry about what the form of a building or anything like that comes later. So this is to help highlight the area that we're in. The blue marker on your left is where we're standing right now. On the right is where the old City Hall used to be. So, and then the big long black streak that goes across is State Street. So there you go. So I'm going to go through the first 5 chapters relatively quickly. This is made up of 11 chapters. I'm not going to go through all 127 pages of this code. We would be here all night. So I'll quickly go through this. So chapter 1 is form districts. So as opposed to the traditional zoning where we would apply one zone and all standards apply to that zone, a form-based code actually takes it into a little more finer grain detail. So it's broken up into 5 sub-districts. So you have
the Civic Center Form District, Boulevard Form District, Neighborhood Corridor Form District, and then I'll get to the other, actually, I can just do that now. Transit Neighborhood District and the Residential Transition Form District. So in the Civic Center Form District, which is that kind of lavender purplish color, is the characteristics of that is more community gathering spaces, civic uses, restaurants, and recreation. Heights range from a minimum of 3 to a maximum of 6. And then in the Boulevard District, which is everything along State Street, it's historic State Street character is the goal there, vertical mixed use, and active streetscapes. There's a minimum height of 2 stories and a maximum of 3. It can go up to 5 if the building is stepped back a number of feet from the street. Within the Neighborhood Corridor Form District, that is NC, that's that green along the north. That is more neighborhood supportive businesses, residential focus, and a horizontal mix of uses. Again, heights ranging from 2 to 3 stories. In the Transit Neighborhood Form District, which is going to be that darker blue to the southwest, this is the more intense area of the districts. It's more of an office concentration with residential as well. It is intended to be more mixed use, and we do have heights of a minimum of 4 and a maximum of 8 in this area. The reason why Planning Division, Steering Committee, and Planning Commission recommended this is that it is closer to the Intermountain Hospital and closer to transit station, to the Murray Central Station area. Then lastly, we have Residential Transition Form District. So this is a step down in density from State Street. It does have a residential focus, but it does allow for ground floor commercial. It is still a commercial zone overall. And heights between 2 and 3 stories. Next chapter is use. So though this is not primarily focused on use, we don't want to ignore use completely because there are some incompatible uses that just wouldn't make sense. So in each chapter, there are these little tables that are all color-coded to the form district that they're located in. You have the P for permitted, N for not allowed, and then U for permitted in upper stories. So for example, like office in the Boulevard District is allowed on the 2nd floor. That's to really activate that ground floor along State Street. To hopefully be like shops and restaurants, cafes, things of that nature, and less of a office front that could probably close at 5 and then just be empty and vacant. So that really goes over the use types. The streets type section, every street in the downtown form-based code district is allotted a type of street. So we have State Street, an avenue, connector, neighborhood, and pedestrian. Each one of those have their own standards. So you'll have, State Street has its own sidewalk widths that would be different than avenue, and then requirements for streetscapes and things like that. Moving along to building types. So there, I believe, are 4 or 5 building types that will make up most of the form-based code. Probably 8 to 9 times out of 10, we're going to get a general building type, which is what's on the screen right now. This will be pretty much anything that's kind of a general use. The rest of them are kind of tailored to specific users. So each one has a table, like I said, color-coded to the form district that it's located in, that outlines exactly what the city is looking for when it comes to things like ground floor transparency, ground floor heights. We have minimum and maximums, upper floor heights, things of that nature. Next would be a limited bay building. So the best example I can give of a limited bay that you all would be aware of is like the Armory building, for example. It has kind of bay doors that open up. So that would be a limited bay type building or use. Those are really only allowed in the neighborhood commercial zone. And so you can see that it's only highlighted as that in that table. Then we have row buildings. So this is more like your townhomes, or you could have multiple row office type buildings like retail, service, things like that. Again, mixed between all the different types of form districts. Then we have a yard building, which is what you would most likely see as like a single family detached home, which is only really allowed in the RT zone. And lastly is a civic building. I'm not going to get too much into this because really the only ones that are going to care about that are the people sitting up on this dais. So we will move on to 6 through 11. Trying to fly through this pretty quick. Next is open space. So each type of open space, we have pocket parks or just parkland, things like that, and there's standards for each of those so that we don't get just like little small pieces of property that aren't able to be used for any meaningful way, or if somebody wants to come build a park, there are these standards that are allowed here. Also, we have things such as like this BTZ, which is the build to zone. So property owners are allowed to set their buildings back a little bit from that build to zone. So it's a width of space that allows them to have outdoor dining and things of that nature. They can have like lighting or like an arcade. So it's kind of like a covered walkway across it. Those types of things. Then there's other ones like a town square and park example. They all follow the same trajectory of a table with a nice graphic. So landscaping is required around the entire area. So I'll start with the street trees. We're hoping to instill identity through street trees, and knowing the place you're in, you can tell kind of by the tree that you're looking at, right? So along State Street are honey locusts, which you can see on that bottom left. That's currently what's there now. We didn't want to just rip out trees for the sake of ripping out trees. So saving trees there is I think, a good goal. Again, we did that on Hanover and 4800 South, the trees that are already growing and I think are thriving along Hanover and 48th are slated to stay. So, and we want to follow that along 4800 South as well. Landscaping also talks about buffering requirements, so along property lines, making sure that there's a little bit of landscaping around properties. Next is parking. So parking is pretty much staying relatively the same as it was through the MCCD code. There are still parking requirements for single family, multifamily. This does break it out a little bit more. It might be a little bit more in parking. I'd have to double check, but I think it might require a little bit more, but not much. Signage, I keep saying this every time. I meant to fix that graphic like at the Planning Commission, at Committee of the Whole, and I just keep forgetting. So you get to look at this ugly sign depicting signs. So, yeah, there is a signage section that dictates what can be placed where, when, and what types. Again, this kind of shows like what the wall sign requirements are, showing, the sign area, heights, location, placement, riveting read. So chapter 10 and 11 are really just administration and glossary. So that lays out how an application is processed, who reviews that application, how exceptions to that might occur. And then glossary is pretty self-explanatory. There are a bazillion terms in there. One that I'll get to in a moment that I didn't know of, so that was kind of fun. But it defines a bunch of terms. So that's it for most of the just presentation of the form-based code. After the Planning Commission, between the Committee of the Whole and the public hearing this evening, we did have a meeting with Rockworth, who had done some additional reviews of the form-based code and asked some questions of us as staff. So we do have 3 I think, 3 edits that we would like to propose to make, that the council make when adopting the code. They're very small edits, but I'm going to go over those real quick. So this is where I mentioned the definition that I didn't know. So the code as it stands today says on a corner facade, so a corner building, on corner lots only, the new facade plane created when the 2 facade planes that meet at the corner of a building are chamfered. Do any of you know what chamfered means? Great. I didn't either, but you do. You can see it actually in this picture here. It's where it kind of has like a little wall that connects them instead of a hard corner. So they had asked if that could be looked at instead of requiring it on every corner. So we put our heads together, us in the planning division, and proposed that we keep the language as is, but add the following sentence that the Architectural Review Committee may allow alternative corner designs if a finding is made that the proposal meets the intent of the code and is architecturally prominent and clearly visible from both abutting streets. So that would allow, so if somebody doesn't want to go through that process and they just want to put a chamfered corner in, great, go for it. We're fine. But if you want to look at some other sort of geometry or plane design, that it'll allow the Architectural Review Committee to review that. So that's request number 1. Request number 2 is, it was missed in our review, but the connector street requirement, so that's Hanauer Street and 4800 South specifically, we had a 5-foot sidewalk and a 6-foot park strip. That was never intended to be that small. So I'm glad they caught that. So we are proposing to bump that up to a 7-foot sidewalk. The park strip can be 5 feet wide. That's about what it is right here at the parking lot on 4800 South right now. It works just fine. So yeah, no concerns there. That's our second request. And then third request is regarding parapets. Do you guys know what a parapet is? Okay, perfect. So that's when the wall goes up a little bit higher than the actual building. The current code reads that there's a minimum height of 2 feet and a maximum height of 6 feet. So as we were looking at these, that Rockworth had mentioned that they have some section that would go up to 8 feet in a parapet wall. And as opposed to just allowing everyone to have an 8-foot parapet wall surrounding a building, again, we kind of want to take that sentence. So the Architectural Review Committee may allow additional height if a finding is made that the proposed height extension meets the intent of the code and is consistent with the architectural standards of the Form District. So that other section right there, it says minimum height of 42 inches. So that is actually a building code requirement that we found out when talking to the building official. So instead of requiring 2 feet and they're going to have to put up 42 inches anyway, we might as well bump that up to 42 inches per building code. So those are the 3 proposed edits. I'm happy to talk about those here in a second. Just want to go through quickly the staff's findings, that the proposed text amendment furthers the objectives of the 2017 general plan to provide a variety of housing types and to revitalize critical areas of the city. The proposed amendments are in harmony with Objective 11 of the land use and urban design element to stimulate reinvestment in deteriorating areas of the city to support growth and enhance the image of the community. The proposed amendments will allow and support context-sensitive, quality mixed-use development in appropriate areas of the city. And then lastly, the Murray City Planning Commission held a public hearing on April 17th and voted 6-0 to recommend approval to the City Council. So with that, we are recommending, the Planning Division and the Planning Commission are recommending that the City Council adopt the ordinance subject to those 3 amendments in the code. And then secondly, there is a second motion that will have to be done to change the zoning of the properties. So that's why there are 2 recommendations up there. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Do you have something?
No.
Okay. Hey, Zach, so question.
Yeah.
What if a property spans two different zones, two different districts,
Yes.
what happens then?
So they would have to, and I apologize, okay. You actually have a great question because Rockworth has this issue. So they will have this property here that technically spans two farm districts.
Right.
So they'll have to separate the building, which they've shown in their renderings, you've probably seen. The one building will have to be compliant with the Civic Center side. The other side has to be compliant with the Boulevard District.
Okay.
Or they have to go and request for a form district change, kind of like a rezoning almost, if they don't like that option.
Okay, there's another one on the other side of state, and maybe the better question is, how did you decide the boundaries of these districts?
These were proposed by the consultant. Originally, the consultant started right here at, I apologize, Brown Street.
That's not there anymore.
Right, so it started at Brown Street over here and omitted all of these properties from the form-based code.
Right.
And all of this was in that residential transition area.
Right.
And then when coming to the city council, I think it was the second time, your former council person, Councilman Dominguez, had recommended putting that back into the form-based code. So we expanded the residential transition over to Center Street.
Okay, well, you have property owners who are spanning two different districts.
Correct.
In that area.
Yes.
So what are they to do?
They can, I mean, so.
Maybe a better question, can we adjust it?
You are more than welcome as the council to amend those form districts. Do you want to? Okay, I'm going to turn it over to.
All right.
Chat for a minute.
Yeah, I asked the question, again, coming into this a little bit late in the game.
Yep,
A lot of the work, same as
So
you,
am I.
Scott. Yeah, so asked the question when I first got here, what was that basis of that? And this is asking the consultant, what's the basis of that line?
Yeah.
Right? There had to be a line someplace. And the explanation was that for the most part, with a little bit of an exception on the Rockworth property that Zach just mentioned, but for the most part, I'm not, okay, wrong mouse, that's why. We know that there's a single property owner, but there are distinct parcel lines in there. So for the most part, they try to stick with that first parcel in from State Street, one parcel in, along that stretch from 4800 south to Vine. So if you look at all these properties, some of them are odd shaped, but all of them have frontage on State Street and they're one parcel in, right? That was the logic. Now, can the council change that? Certainly. The planning commission's made a recommendation, but the council can change that if you wish. I will say, though, that it was not, it was deliberate and intentional. It wasn't just an afterthought. It was, here's where we think this line ought to be. But that being said, yeah, there could be a change made. I will say that if you decide to change that, it does change the standards for those properties as well. So there will be some impacts, but you certainly could change that.
Okay. That's all I had right now. Thank you.
Any more questions from the council? Then, thank you, Zach. We'll move over to the public comment portion of this public hearing.
Okay.
So, yeah, leave your stuff there. Public, you may now come up and make comments on this proposal, this ordinance. And you have 3 minutes like before, and you state your name and your city. So, public comment is open.
My name is DeLynn Barney. I live and own property in Murray City within the Murray City Center District and the proposed City Center Form-Based District. I've got a paper right here that shows that, And if I can get this cursor to move, I don't know where it went. Oh, there it is. My home is right there. And I do not have any immediate plans to move excuse me. And I do not have any immediate plans to move anytime soon. Overview. My comments will pertain to the proposed districts, parking, and a future new road and landscaping in the area where I live. The proposed district change, I would like to ask the Murray City Council to change the proposed district boundaries. My property and several others will be in from residential transition to the neighborhood corridor. First, I do not like the thoughts of being surrounded by 10-story buildings. Secondly, the west and south of these properties, there is a natural drop-off of about 10 feet or about 1 story. So making this change would make for a more natural transition. Parking, on-street parking for the connector street type of 6 feet 0 inches, park strip on both sides of the street is not practical when vehicles are parked on both sides of the street, as is sometimes on Box Elder and 4th and 5th Avenue. There is only room for 1 lane of traffic, which would impact the traffic flow and movement of emergency vehicles. The future road that is potential future connection of 4th Avenue and 5th Avenue would mean the unvacating and widening of part of both of these streets and the offsetting of 5th Avenue that runs next to the natural gas line that goes to the Murray City Power Plant. I see this as a safety concern. And a ramp would need to be installed to accommodate the approximate 10-foot drop from Box Elder Street to the north-south running of the west part of the future street. Currently there is a right-of-way that goes around the Salt Lake Indoor Soccer Building, but if 4th Avenue was extended, it would take out this building and there'd have to be a drop of 10 feet, so there'd have to be some type of a slope put in to accommodate that road. And landscaping, in connector street type streets, if trees were to be put in the area between the curb and the sidewalk, there would be limited space for walking and bicycling. Right now, if a tree was to be put on that small 2-foot area, there would not be room for a person to walk by without hitting their head in the trees, and they couldn't ride a bicycle there. So thank you for listening to my concerns, which pertain to the proposed districts, parking, future new roads, and landscaping in the area where I live. I hope you listened and implement my suggestions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, my name's Diane Seeley Powers, and I own the property at 4777 South State Street. Oh, I don't know if this is working. This is the property that they were including in the new rezoning. And at the last public hearing in April, when I was at the meeting, I found out that somebody else requested that my property be added without my consent or knowledge, and I was unfamiliar with all this. So at this time, I'm just asking that I respectively not be added to the new zone. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
My name's Leanne Parker Reed. I live on 4800 South, east of this whole section. But I have had some concerns about the future, okay, and all of the things that we're trying to do. So the form-based code, I understand, and it makes more sense today than it has some of the other days, so I appreciate that very much. And my understanding is right now the form-based code is specifically in these areas that we're talking about. So there's obviously lots of other Murray parts to our city. One of my biggest concerns is all of the zoning and regulations that we have been working with are based on the 2017 general plan. And I have said things before to some of my council members, the previous one, and other people in the planning and zoning, that why have we not updated the general plan? And part of that is money. It costs money to do another plan. But it seems a little bit like, especially since we're doing some of these things, it's a little outdated. So that's some of my concern. Think about, revising the plan and getting it out there a few years ahead instead of just taking a little piece at a time. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Mike Todd. Our family owns Desert Star Playhouse, and although we don't live in Murray, we've spent most of our life in Murray for the last 37, now pushing 38 years. Feels like home. I'm not opposed to form-based code, never have been. Where we live, we've been involved with, and I've been familiar with form-based code for the last at least 2 decades. So it's not an opposition to form-based code. I forgot. I was going to start slightly differently. At Desert Star, we are in the business of fun, and this is no fun. We've done this now, I don't know how many times, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. We've changed the zoning of our property since we've been there. And now we're here doing it again. I've got a thing prepared here, but I'm going to skip it because some of this has already been discussed. And I want to stay super positive because there's no one who cares more about what happens in this area than the property owners do. And I believe we're, other than the city, the largest property owner, at least on the east side of State Street. So a little bit of this discussion has been the splitting of zones on contiguous properties. That's me. Our property has been split. It's been commercial forever. It's been bordered by commercial to the east. And now our property's being split into boulevard and residential, I think, transition. I think that's what it is, RT. And I am absolutely 100% opposed to our property being split in two. And so I respectfully request that you modify this tonight if you can, and if not, postpone the meeting until you can to change our property to be all the same Boulevard District. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Clark Bullen, District 3. I appreciate all the work that's been done on the form-based district. I think that the form-based district is the right way to go for downtown. It's going to make a big difference. My question was, this right here is in the purple CC district, but according to the Rockworth plan, this is more of a residential, it's the apartments. And so it seems like it would make more sense to be in the neighborhood corridor district. So that was my only thought.
Thank you. Anybody else? Then I will close the public comment for that. And Zachary, would you come back up here again? Let's grill you with some questions.
Please. Summertime. Time for
All
grilling.
right. So
Okay, where do you want to start?
Let's talk about what these residents just requested.
Okay.
You know, I think that's what we're here for, is to do the best thing for the city without harming any of the residents.
Sure. So what we had, I'll just go in order. So, looking at Mr. Barney's request, he had requested to move his properties into neighborhood commercial.
Yeah.
Again, that's totally within the purview of the city council if they do want to do that. We did try to keep this kind of a straight line, as straight as it could be with property lines. And the current zone would allow, the current MCCD zone would allow 10 stories across the board. I will mention that. So everywhere except these houses here would be a minimum of 4 on the west side of State Street and up to 10 or 125 feet. So we are reducing the heights in that area already. And we also don't anticipate this to redevelop overnight. We have been in contact with the property owners here. They are just holding it for the time being. They're happy with the soccer basketball facility that's going on there. So we still think that having it here in the transition or the transit neighborhood still makes sense. Just with the impacts and potential development area in that location.
So it's just for my clarification.
Sure.
10-story buildings can be built anywhere in the form-based code? 'Cause I'm seeing height restrictions here.
In the MCCD, the current zone that exists today.
The current zone that
Yeah.
exists can have up to 10 stories, but the new one
brings
it down.
The blue would be the tallest at 8.
At 8.
At 8 as the max. Yeah. So let's see, here you go. 4 to 8 in that transit neighborhood. Again, we see that as closer to Murray Central Station, and that's the reason why we located that there. Parking can be a touchy subject for a lot of people. Box Elder is a narrow street, and it can get a little congested. That doesn't happen very often, happens maybe a couple times a week, on a weeknight, usually for games or something like that. That's something that we could work with the soccer locker building to try to help. But I think we've tailored the parking requirements accordingly to fit the code. The potential road, I did want to touch on just briefly. So these are not required roads, for one. Secondly, because these are just kind of ideas. This is just to give us an idea of something in the future. We want to create more connection when possible. More connection usually means less traffic and more circulation throughout a site. So it could be just looping from 5th to 4th. There was conversations in the steering committee about having 5th connect to 48th, like looping up this way up to 48th. There's been a lot of conversations of what that could possibly be. But that doesn't necessarily, that's just saying there's a potential new street somewhere along here. Yes, that's why it's not on the map. Councilman Goodman, that's why it's not on the map. And then, so yeah, these are just ideas of streets. They're not actually funded or proposed to do anything, and it could just bring ideas in the future. So, questions so far?
It's not like the city owns that property though, right?
We do not own that property. I believe UTA owns this property. And again, that's another thing, is that, so say like the people that own the soccer locker come here and they're building a building and they're like, well, we really want an access here. We can come back and say, well, let's move it up here to align with 4th Avenue. So it's more kind of a negotiating tactic where we can actually go in and say, let's actually shift this a little bit up to help that connection a little bit further, as opposed to, well, we're gonna put it right here, right in the curve of the street, and that's gonna cause sightline problems. It helps kind of explain it a little bit more. Questions on those ones so far?
Yeah, I'm still stuck on Mr. Barney's request. So if we were to want to exclude that from the transit
Oh.
zone.
Oh, okay, sorry, you are.
And include it in the neighborhood corridor.
Mhm.
The only thing I see affected by it is the future proposal of a street that would wind through there. Is that
No,
correct?
that wouldn't be affected either.
That wouldn't be affected?
No.
Okay.
No, you would just be changing, so
Yeah.
the transit neighborhood is more office concentration and vertical mixed use, where here you have neighborhood corridor form district.
Mhm.
So we really tried to keep that along 48th and around here. We did expand it down here to the city's property, which is located here in UTA's. And again, that still goes, let's see, 2 to 3 stories.
Okay, so let me go through the other request to, let's go to the Desert Star,
Sure.
Mike Todd's request. I don't know where his property goes to. I have an idea.
So it encompasses these parcels here, you'll have to forgive me without
Somewhere
knowing
there.
exactly.
And
Here,
what-
and then up in this area.
In that area.
Yep.
Okay. So what would be the effect of keeping it all in the Boulevard District?
So he would be able to potentially get some additional height. Because as the Boulevard District shows, it's minimum of 2, up to 3, 5 if stepped back. The residential transition only allows 3 at a maximum. Other than that, you have, let's see, we can take a look at a couple of these things. So for example, uses. So residential would only be allowed on the upper floors. Currently, it would be allowed in the residential transition, it's allowed on the ground floor and upper floors. So on the Boulevard, it would only be allowed on the upper. Same with office space, that would only be allowed on the upper floors. Let's see. Residential care, he would not be able to do in the Boulevard District, but would be able to do in the residential transition. Let's see.
So he was asking to stay all in Boulevard.
Yeah, he would like to, I think his request was to move everything to Boulevard.
Yeah, I'm just.
What would, I'm gonna jump in on this. What would that do? Because the point of the residential a neighborhood is to transition it. If we push that Boulevard District further east.
It's less of a transition.
So are we going, like, I don't know his property lines at all. So are we going from like Boulevard to neighborhood? Or do we still have a transition at any point in time? Because that would be, for me, that's a big thing. There needs to be some sort of transition between the neighborhood and the Boulevard District.
Right.
If we're going straight to it, that's a big hang-up for
Yeah,
me.
because these are all residential right along here.
So if you look at this line, really this line right here, kind of coming down, right.
Where are
Oh,
you?
you're not seeing
Where you
my
at, Jack?
cursor. Jeez. I think it's gonna.
Hurry.
That's what I was afraid it was gonna do. If I go back to my laser pointer, it doesn't. Okay, so it's this
that
this
line
line
right
right
there.
here. And then down, over, and down.
Yep.
Those would remain residential transition.
What about that little line that says Division Lane? Is that a road?
It's a.
Is that what it is, or is
it's
it
a
part of the
right-of-way.
property?
Yeah, it's a right of way.
It's an
It's a
alley.
small little.
So
alley.
is it, do we own it or is it privately owned?
I think it's a public alley. I think it's
Okay.
a public street.
Okay.
Okay, sorry, going back to, so yeah, you can kind of see the different users, uses that are allowed in that area. Let's see.
And
Building
what would
ten.
his business be considered, hospitality?
I'm sorry?
Would his business be considered hospitality on that
No,
graph?
no.
Oh, is that hotel? How's that the equal hotel?
Give me 1 second. I am prepared.
Makes no sense.
And then we had one more request for the property up north by State Street to be excluded from this.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was that first property off that or a second property.
Yeah.
Yeah, that lady in the back, yeah.
Give me 1 second. Okay. My PDF isn't working. I was going to look at the. Okay, so the property here, it could remain CD. The reason being we included it is that it is one of the last kind of traditional buildings that is located on State at 4777. Sorry.
I'm sorry, we had a little
Yeah.
buzz on the background here. Would you repeat that, Zach, please?
Yep.
Thank you.
So the 4777, that's this property located right here.
So the thin one there.
Yeah, this thin one and then the parking adjacent to it.
Okay.
It wasn't requested by another property owner. It was the city that's requesting that rezone. We found that it would make more sense located there because up north you have many of Murray and then BMW. That's really where the feeling, the State Street feel really starts to change away from it. Where the property that she's located in does still have that kind of historic, timeless look.
How would this form-based code affect her business if it went into effect?
Today, nothing. It wouldn't
Nothing
affect
would
it.
change for her?
No.
We wouldn't require her to hang, funny things in her window or, put up parapets or what's the other fancy
Nope.
word you came up with?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chamfers.
So
Yeah, no.
she wouldn't have to do anything to her business. She could
Correct.
continue with what
As
she's
of,
doing.
As of that, like today, no. So she could continue operating her business just as she's doing today.
Okay.
What kicks it in is if she decides to demo the building,
Okay.
or like completely renovate.
Like a major remodel
Like
or
even
demo.
a major remodel, like interior, we're
Yeah.
not gonna have a
Not
lot of
gonna-
problems with.
But exterior.
Like exterior renovations, even
Yeah.
then, there are carve-outs in the administration section
Okay.
that
Okay.
historic buildings are allowed to have additions
Yeah.
that can expand from that.
I just don't want to hurt a business.
Nope, and I don't either. That's one of our main things here is to make sure
Okay.
that.
That's a good explanation. Thank you, Zach,
Yeah,
for
no
that.
problem.
Are they going to be grandfathered in, these existing buildings?
Every single person that's in the MCCD, yes. Everybody that's
They'll be
operating today.
grandfathered in, but
Yes.
if they do anything, any kind of changes, then they would have to follow the form-based code.
I want to caveat that it's not
Okay.
any kind of changes. It would have
Okay.
to be very specific changes.
Okay.
Because like, a lot of this, again, because it's looking at the form of the building.
Right.
We're not, if they decide, so, let's say one of the Wrights, one of their buildings, they decide to just repurpose it and lease it out to a new business. As long as that business is allowed, great, groovy, keep going, right? We're not gonna make you tear down the building, rebuild it and make it have parapets and facade
Right.
extensions and
Okay.
things of that nature. It really is when you start to like change the building itself. And
Okay.
even then, like I said, there are carve-outs for people
have-
to do
But
different things.
they are going to be grandfathered in.
Yeah,
How
we
they
call it,
exist today.
yep. We call it a non-
2025.
Yep, we call it a non-conforming use. Yep. Okay.
I have a question about
Yes.
the transit zone.
Yeah.
Corner of Vine Street and State Street, that was originally out of the committee boulevard, and now it's transit neighborhood. Why did it change?
It didn't change.
I thought we had it at the corner right there as we want, because we had a State Street continuous.
Right,
With the
so
boulevard.
if, in the steering committee, we kept it as transit neighborhood, to keep, because it's all one property owner. as opposed to cutting that into a piece, because what this is typically
Okay.
following are those property lines, right?
Okay.
So, if you want, I can show,
We just, okay.
yeah.
No,
It had been
I'm
consistent.
misremembering then. I thought we.
Yeah,
okay.
me too. I was thinking we had made that.
No,
into-
I think we have regulations in there that if you are along State Street, you are limited by height. I think that's what it was. Now that we talked about that, it does have to come down in height as it gets closer to state, but as it moves further away.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. That's what it was.
That's right. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Okay. Okay, and then Mr. Bolin mentioned the CC area for Rockworth. The Civic Center does allow for residential on the ground floor, so that's not going to necessarily be necessary. We've been working with Rockworth through this whole process. They've been getting copies of this code as it's been going through development. And we've been making tweaks to make sure that when this is adopted, this is something that Rockworth can meet. It's written into their development agreement that they have to meet this code. And so we've been working very closely with them. So I don't think it needs to move to neighborhood commercial, but again, that's up to the committee. I do think it would be I think it would look a little weird having that green right next to the purple being the Murray Mansion and things of that nature. Any other questions?
I don't have any other question, but I want to just say thank you for all the work that has been done
Yeah.
on this form-based code.
Yeah.
The previous CED director, Phil Markham, who was on this, I really appreciate his work, your work, everyone up in the CED, and the council members that were on the committee and other committee members. I really, really appreciate everything that everyone has done.
And I'd like to just
And the
mimic-
planning commission,
Yeah.
oh, yes, the planning commissions, yes. They
That-
were fabulous.
That's what I'd like to
I
say.
loved watching those meetings,
Yeah,
especially with the trucks, food trucks, this
Yeah.
and that. So, yes, the planning commissioners were spot on
yeah.
with all their questions. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that it was invaluable having the two council members as part of the
Yes.
steering committee and the planning commission. It's
Yeah.
made it a lot easier. I don't think we could imagine a world where I'm coming to you like we would normally, a zone change.
Yeah.
And just saying, hey, here, do this. You know, this would be a complete monstrosity. You all would feel probably how Scott feels, so.
Yeah.
I apologize. So,
All right, thank you,
Thank
Zach,
you.
for that. Council, any words, anything you want to do at this time?
I'm just, Zach, can you, you turned it off.
Okay.
Anyways, in the transient neighborhood, the height is, what, 8?
Yeah, it said 4 to 8,
4 to 8?
8 being the max.
Yeah, I have some concerns on that. I would like to make a motion to amend the height in the transient neighborhood, maximum height to be 5 stories, up to 5 stories, not 8. I have concerns about how high that is in that area. So I make that motion to amend the heights.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we want to have a discussion first, and then if anybody wants to second that?
Yeah, I mean, maybe a discussion of just tabling this for now.
Point of order. We have a motion on the
Yeah.
table,
Oh,
so we
sorry.
can't.
So we have to
motion
stick with this one first.
I just have concern about the height, up to 8. I mean, they could still do 8. I just
So
have,
your motion is to
Yep.
amend the transit neighborhood height,
yep,
the top height being 5
5.
stories?
Yes,
Okay, so we
Yes.
have a motion to limit the height in the transit neighborhood to 5 stories.
yes, yes.
Any discussion related to that, or anybody would like to second the motion? I will second the motion.
Thank you.
Then I will debate the motion. This is something we spent a lot of time on in the steering committee.
Yeah.
Was this height? And we settled there for a few reasons. It was interesting as I talked to citizens when we did the open house on this one, because we talked specifically about this area. And when we said, and I'd asked citizens, this is 8, how do you feel about 8? And they're like, I'm not really happy about 8. And then I'd say, it's Intermountain property, and inevitably they come back and say, we want to be good neighbors, it's all right. They would change their opinion, and it happened multiple times when I talked to residents. They're fine with 8 in that area. They want it lower on the boulevard. There's also, you need to keep in mind that there's a hill. It's going to be lower. It's not going to be as tall as other places because it's going to be lower on that hill because of the gradation there. So I think talking to citizens, they're all right with 8 there if it goes that high. And it was originally proposed from 10, and we pushed it down to 8 there. So the first proposal was 10, and we've pushed it down to 8 already.
How tall is the hospital, the tallest tower, do we know?
10?
10?
Is it 10 or 9?
No, it's 15.
Is it 15?
I just want to have a comparison, you know, about 15?
Yeah.
So it'd be about half of that
Because I'm
height.
saying, I think building 1's 10,
Okay,
and it's taller than that.
I think it's somewhere between 15 and 18, I think.
okay. Okay, yeah. Well, we have a motion and a second, so we have to vote on it. Yes, I will after the vote.
Oh.
Yeah. So we're going to do a roll call vote then, and Jennifer, I'm going to ask you to do that because we want to excuse Brooke, who had another business meeting to attend to. So Jennifer, would you take that?
Ms. Cotter?
Aye.
Mr. Goodman?
Nay, I'm good with 10.
Ms. Turner?
Nay.
Mr. Hawk?
It's okay.
Nay.
Mr. Biggett?
Aye.
It's a pass.
Thank you. The vote fails, the amendment fails. So we will now move forward then with the,
Could I just add something?
Yes, of
Because
course.
I was also on that committee. And height has been an issue for me, and I was really concerned. And the fact that we could go to 10 feet, 10 stories has always concerned me.
Yeah.
You know, that we have never modified or changed that. And so when we discussed this, as Councilmember Hawk said, it makes sense in that area to have that height.
okay.
Anyway, it just makes sense.
I just have a concern of the narrow roads we have in that area feeding
Right.
into the boulevard. We'd have to have a major infrastructure change because there's no way that road's going to be
Yes.
able to, we had Mr. Barney tell us when they park most out of the road, you have a 1-lane road, which is right.
Yeah.
And now we're going to add potentially 8-story buildings in plural in
Yeah.
that area. We're going to have hundreds of cars,
Potentially,
potentially
that's-
hundreds of cars through a tiny 1-lane road.
Yeah.
Someday we'll look back on this and you'll say, oh, I wish I'd voted with Paul. And Pam.
Like I said, we went over and over this, and it just.
All right, well, I appreciate your work on that. I know you spend a ton of time with that. I'm not
Yes.
belittling that. I'm just simply saying that I have a concern. I have a concern and,
Yeah,
it failed.
I
So
get it.
And-
it's
I
done.
know.
And the one thing I'll say that came up really clearly as we were in the steering committee is that this isn't perfect and it's not done. We're probably gonna have to come back to it in a couple of years.
Yeah.
And tweak it, because there will be things that we're gonna get in the middle of it and go, that didn't work the way we thought it would, and we're gonna have to adjust it. So it's not, yes, it's a guide, but it's gonna be a living document as we go. Now, our goal isn't to switch it every 2 days
Yeah.
or switch it every meeting, but we're not gonna have it perfect ever.
Yeah.
And we're gonna have to come back to it.
My fear is
tried.
that we're going to realize too late that we can't fit that many people in a small area, and then we will try to do something and we'll be faced with lawsuits. by somebody who will say, we want to build a story building. You can't stop us because it's zoned for that. I don't want to face that in the future. It's a very real possibility. But the vote failed, so we move forward to the process.
Yeah, there are all kinds of things that can happen. I wish we could anticipate every one.
Yeah.
We tried. Anyway, this is.
Well, having had a good, robust discussion on this and a failed amendment, we will move forward then with considering an ordinance repealing Chapter 17.170 of the Murray City Center District MCCD of the Murray Municipal Code and adopting and enacting Chapter 17.171 to establish the Murray City Center Form-Based Code. Do I have a motion?
I'll motion to approve the ordinance of repealing Chapter 17.170 Murray City Center District MCCD of the Murray Municipal Code, adopting and enacting Chapter 17.171 Murray City Center Form-Based Code CCFBC to establish the Murray City Center Form-Based Code and making other necessary language changes to the city code to reflect the change from MCCD to the CCFBC with edits from staff.
Thank you.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Jennifer, will you take the roll call vote?
Ms. Cotter?
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Goodman?
Aye with edits.
Ms. Turner?
Aye.
Mr. Huck?
Aye.
Mr. Biggett?
Nay.
Just to clarify, the edits were what Zach went over in terms of the text. Is that
It's at
correct?
staff edits.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you. That was a fun public hearing, and we have 3 more to go. What do you guys do in the rest of the night? Yeah. All right, so Zach, you're presenting the next one, considering an ordinance relating to the land use, amending the zoning map from the MCCD zone to the CCFBC zone.
We presented them together.
Can we present them together?
Yeah.
He already did.
Right?
So I'm
Yeah.
just going to make a motion. Oh, you have to do a public.
Public hearing. Open to public hearing.
Oh, we didn't open a public hearing on the second one?
Yes.
So do we open it now for the second one, for this one?
Yes.
We now open a public hearing on changing the zoning map from MCCD to City Center Form-Based Code. Is that the name change then? Is it this?
So point
No?
of order, this is just changing the zone map to now reflect. So we just adopted that we have a new zone.
Okay,
Now we're having a public hearing on adopting the zone map.
okay.
From the old to the new.
Wow, thank you.
And Jennifer and Zach, they're helping out.
Yeah, I think everything's fine. GL, is that the proper way of doing it? Or, because I thought I presented them together.
You did.
You did.
Do it that way. But we'll have 2 separate motions.
Okay, perfect.
But do we have 2 separate public comments?
To be safe at this point, I would, yes.
Yeah.
You don't have to have repeat comments, but just if there's anybody else that wants to say.
Any
anything, then-
additional comments? Be glad to take any public comments. Because hey, what do you do on a Tuesday night?
I've got nothing to do tonight, so I'll make some comments. I'd rather be someplace else, but I'll be here. I'd like to reiterate the changes that I would like to, for the area that I'm living in, and still some concerns about the additional traffic that may be coming down the streets in the future, and what kind of traffic problems that could cause. And I hope things can be resolved so that Murray can continue to prosper and get bigger and develop without too much of an impact on the people that are living here and those that are yet to live here. Thank you for your work.
Thank you.
Doug Wright, I don't live in Murray, but I own property in Murray. I just want to stand in support of Mr. Todd. The more I think about that, that's a serious burden to put on a property owner to have their property in 2 separate districts.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ben Peck. I live in District 3. I just wanted to also comment in support of Mr. Todd. I think that it goes with the intent of the form-based code where it was following property lines of those parcels. But when a single property owner owns multiple parcels, I think it makes sense to keep that property altogether in the same boulevard zone. So I would ask that the council consider changing those boundaries so that Mr. Todd's property is all in the boulevard zone. Thank you.
Thank you.
When listening to Mr. Todd, sorry, I'm Clark Bullen, District 3. Oh, Mr. Todd, and looking at the differences of the zones, it seems like the major difference was that be on the west or the east side of his property, you could only do 3 stories. And on the west side of his property, you could do 3 with a setback to 5. So the only difference would be that he couldn't step back to 5, and not the only difference, but the major difference would be that he couldn't step back to 5 on his east side property. And that, I'm not sure would make a huge significant difference to the residents who live along Center Street, which would probably be the primary concern with the height. And so in thinking of that, I mean, how high he could go, it probably makes sense to allow his property to be the same zone on both halves of his property. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more? Okay, Mr. Todd.
Super quick. I just want to express appreciation to these people who've mentioned this. I don't know them, and I did ask for that, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
I see no more public comments, so I will close the public comment.
Paul?
Yes?
You're good. May I say something?
Yeah, why not, Mayor?
Oh, no.
Chime in.
This was hard for me to follow, sorry. It was, and I've been involved with you a little bit, but it is really crazy. But I talked to Mike Todd earlier, and I would have to agree that it'd be nice if we didn't have to split that. It's just kind of an odd thing. But anyway, I know I don't have a vote, but I just want to mention that, so thank you.
So I'm going to jump in. It's open,
Yeah.
Council. All right,
Yes.
Zach, let's talk about it. Come on up. Or Chad, are you taking
I
this
did
over
close
now?
the public comment.
All right, so if we move the Boulevard District east, could we, and just put it against that property line, the property owners, do we just make it that residential area against Center Street as a residential transition neighborhood? Would that work? So we still keep the transition that we want. It would extend Mike Todd's property.
One second, I'll see if I can bring up something that might help a little bit. Okay, so this was done in 30 seconds on my laptop, so these property lines are not, you've got a little bit of diagonal where it should be straight, but I tried to capture the parcels that are owned by Mr. Todd in that district. So you can see what that, well, at least those properties that are owned by him. You've got a couple down there that here that at least Salt Lake County ownership shows as Alta Airport Transport, this one and this one. So they're not, so those are the properties, as I could tell in the county recorder, that are owned by Mike, by Mr. Todd. So just want to make sure we're clear about what we're talking about. That's the properties that you've been talking about. Here's a little bit of a nuance that I know this is going to complicate things, but I want to make sure you know what we're up against here. So this is one zone. We've adopted your zoning standards. It's the form-based code zone with sub-districts within, right? So what you're considering in this particular public hearing is the change from MCCD to form-based code. What you were considering in the previous hearing was those individual districts within that text. So this is where we get complicated in what we're considering now. The one part that is part of this is that property that's up there on North State that our citizen came and talked, or our property owner came and talked about up in here. That is part of this particular consideration because we're moving that boundary. However, this is one zone. This is the form-based code with these sub-districts. The text that you just adopted is what adopts those sub-districts. So this is where it gets a little bit complicated, and that's not, of course, that's just for you to know. That's perhaps complicates this a little bit, but that's the reason why that last discussion was important. But the other thing that I just want to point out again is that, that's where, if we bring that one property, and that's what that boundary, if we bring that one, the property owned by Mr. Todd into the boundary, that's what that would look like. You'd have potentially some gaps there. This would not all follow that same pattern. So I want to make sure this is not a judgment call by me. I'm not in any way trying to propose one way or the other. I think the council needs to make a decision, but those are the two kind of facts that we have to deal with here. Is that number one is that you've made a motion on that text and already got voted on that, and number two, again, if you're going to do this, is that the boundary you would want to do anyway? Would you want to include that, or would you want to try to make that a straight shot across those properties?
So a few thoughts. Number one, sounding GL, my first question, based upon what we just moved, can we even consider this anymore, or is
You'd have to reconsider the first one.
We'd have to reconsider first. Okay. So first thing is, if we're going to do this, we have to add those small properties, or it's going to be weird. Second thing to keep in mind as we're doing this is Mr. Todd can still apply for a form-based change if he wants to redevelop his property. Like, he can come back to us in a few months and say, I'm going to redevelop it. I'd like to change the form district. And we can consider it at that point in time. It's not set in stone. The third thing to keep in mind is Rockworth is dealing with this exact same situation. So it is possible to work across two form districts. They're doing it right now. So is it as convenient as maybe having one? Maybe not, but it is possible at the same point in time. So 3 things to consider.
Great point, Mr. Hawk. Thank you. Any other discussion, any other question?
Yeah, but as long as we're doing this, let's just get it as close to correct as possible. So residents don't have to go back and fix our stuff. So, I mean, so all the way from State to Brown Street, straight across back behind those residents. Does that make sense?
Let me see if I can, are you talking including these two? Or all
Yep,
the way-
including those two, and then back across, yeah, just right, because all along the front there are all houses. That makes sense. But all along there, back behind them are all businesses or empty parking lots.
While you're further discussing, I'm going to unplug so you don't have to watch me do this ugliness. I'm going to draw a new picture, because what I'd like to do is be able to capture that so it's easy for the record to understand what
Okay.
it is you voted on. So
All
I'm
right.
going to unplug for just a second.
As he does that point of order, so GL, how do we go back and reconsider the first one? So
So let me make sure I'm following this.
if we go back,
Correctly.
reconsider the form-based code to text amendment.
One of the three who voted in favor in the majority makes a motion to reconsider.
Okay.
Second vote, you can go back and reconsider.
Okay.
Okay. Would you like to make the motion? Okay.
But it has to be one of the three that voted in favor of keeping it, yeah.
They're gonna.
Thanks for your patience. You think it's awkward for you? On the go. So I think what you've described to me is everything that's, and I know these are rough lines up at the top, we'll clean those up, but I think what you've described to me is everything that is in the blue now, correct? That would include this little blue piece right there, but everything within that blue line? Is that what I heard you describe?
Yeah.
So that would, not including those residential properties along Center Street, but all those others?
We're all good with that?
Yeah, do we?
Everybody
Okay.
comfortable with that?
Do we want to talk about the other change as well, moving that line down a little bit?
What would you like to?
That other,
The lady in the back.
yeah, the lady in the back, or are we good with that one?
I think we're good with that because she's not going to be affected by
What about
it.
the one over in the TN? Over
was
by the
that?
train? Over by the track?
I'm all right keeping the other zones. That's where I am.
Okay, all right. I just want to make sure.
I don't know where the others are, but I'm all right with
Okay,
the
Yeah.
other zones.
okay,
Okay.
We're comfortable with that.
okay.
Okay. Then I will make a motion to reconsider the public hearing number 1 to consider a motion repealing chapter 17.17 of the Murray City Municipal Code, adopting and enacting chapter 17.171 of the Murray City Center Form-Based Code, CCFBC, to establish the Murray City Center Form-Based Code and making other necessary language changes to the city code to reflect the change from the MCCD to the CCFBC.
I second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to reconsider the first vote. Jennifer, will you take the?
Ms. Cotter?
Aye.
Mr. Goodman?
Aye.
Ms. Turner?
Aye.
Mr. Hawk?
Aye.
Mr. Pickett?
Aye.
And then, are you entertaining a motion?
I would like to entertain a motion right now.
So then I motion to approve an ordinance repealing chapter 17.170 of the Murray City City Center MCCD of the Murray City Municipal Code, adopting and enacting chapter 17.171 Murray City Center Form-Based Code, CCFBC, to establish the City Center Form-Based Code and making other necessary language changes to the city code to reflect the change from the MCCD to the CCFBC, including edits from staff and adjustments to the Boulevard District as discussed in this meeting.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Jennifer, will you roll call?
Are we good? I'm looking at you, okay.
Yeah, we're good.
Ms. Cotter?
Aye.
Mr. Goodman?
Aye.
Ms. Turner?
Aye.
Mr. Hawk?
Aye.
Mr. Pickett?
Aye.
If I knew your vote was so easy to sway, it'd make our life so much easier.
I'm just telling you, you just have to vote with Paul.
Point of order.
Yes.
Oh, never mind. I'm going to ask him.
Well, we're done with 1 and 2, right?
Yes.
We have to do 2 now. Okay. So now I'll entertain a motion for the second one.
Okay, so I will motion to approve an ordinance relating to land use, amending the zoning map from the MCCD Murray City Center District Zone to the CCFBC City Center Form-Based Code Zone for all property previously located within the MCCD and for 3 additional properties currently in the CD Commercial Development Zone located at 4780 South Brown Street and 4777 South State Street.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Jennifer, will you take the roll call?
Ms. Cotter?
Aye.
Mr. Goodman?
Aye.
Ms. Turner?
Aye.
Mr. Hawk?
Aye.
Mr. Pickett?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay.
I will, point of order, I'd like to make a motion for a 15-minute recess, or a 10-minute recess.
10-minute recess. We have a second?
I have a 15-minute. Yes, I
Second.
second it.
All right.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, we're going to take a 10-minute break. All right, I call the meeting back to order. If we get the mayor back up here. All right, thank you. We will now continue with the public hearing. We're going to hear from Brenda Moore, considering an ordinance amending the city's fiscal year budget 2024-2025.
Okay, I'll go over this really quick. This is a amendment, the last one of the year, of course. It's a little bit of housekeeping. Police, they received $36,000 in asset forfeiture receipts, so I'm gonna increase the budget for that, so they can buy some police equipment and do some new officer onboarding. We're gonna increase the budget $15,000 because Intermountain Health gave us a donation to the Love Murray campaign. And then increase the budget $229,845 from the LA Fire deployment and use that for the fire salaries, benefits, travel, vehicle maintenance, building maintenance, and transfer $16,076 to reimburse of the Capital Improvement Projects Fund. And then in the Capital Improvement Projects Fund, we get to receive that money and use it, appropriate it to fire equipment. And in the Power Fund, we sold bonds. So we're going to receive $19,090,000 of bond proceeds and appropriate $90,000 to the cost of issuance and $3.6 to infrastructure for the turbine rebuild and $15,400,000 to reserves, which will then be pulled out next year and used for the other projects. And that is what is on this budget opening.
Any comments from the council, questions?
I have none.
Then we'll open public comment for everything Brenda talked about. 3 minutes, name, town. Going. I close public comments. I see nobody standing up. So we'll move forward with the council comments, votes. Motions, what would you like to do?
Would you like a motion?
I'd love a motion.
All right, I will make a motion to adopt the ordinance amending the city's fiscal year 2024-2025 budget.
I second it.
We have a motion and a second for the amendments for this year's budget. Jennifer, will you take a roll call vote?
Sure, Ms. Cotter?
Aye.
Mr. Goodman?
Aye.
Ms. Turner?
Aye.
Mr. Hawk?
Aye.
Mr. Pickett?
Aye. All right, that has passed. Thank you. We now move to the last public hearing item, a proposed fiscal year 2025-2026 budget. Brenda?
Since the public hearing in the last meeting, I think that was June 3rd, I have changed the following things for after the discussion. We added to the addendum waiving of the Murray Theater rental for the Miss Murray pageant. And then in the library, we added $31,006 to their property tax revenue for growth. And then the offset on that was to reserves. And then in the general fund, I removed the property tax revenue increase and recorded the growth of $120,235 and used reserves of $498,152 to balance that budget. The general fund finished still at 26% of revenue and is projected to be $15.6 million at the end of next year. And everything else in that budget stayed the same.
Okay.
Any questions?
Questions or comments from the council?
No.
Then we'll open a public hearing on the 2025-2026 budget. Public. Name, city, 3 minutes. Seeing that there are no public comments, I will close the public comment section, and back to the council. I will entertain a motion at this time. It's on the what?
Point of order, there's no vote on this. We vote on the business items.
Okay.
It's a little weird with the
So we'll
budget.
just kind of wave at it, go, hey,
Yep.
nice talking to you.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. I'd like to call the council to order, please. All right, we'll move on to the business items. And Brenda, we get to hear from you. In the business items, consider an ordinance adopting the rate of tax levies for the fiscal year commencing July 1st, 2025 and ending June 30, 2026.
So the Salt Lake County Assessor did all of their math projects and programs and whatever they do and came up with the new tax rate. I already mentioned the growth. Just for information purposes, the property values in Murray increased 6.7% overall, which means that the tax levy will go down. And the new one for the city is 0.001403, which is down from 0.001483. And then the library also went down to 0.00293. That makes our combined tax rate 0.001696. It's going to be one of the middle to lower ones in the county. I have not actually checked when we're not doing a property tax increase. It is what it is basically it. So that's the tax levy ordinance that's in front of you. It mentions those two rates, and then once we approve that, then we can approve the budget. It's kind of an order thing.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. We vote on this, right? Okay, so I'll entertain a motion on that.
I'll make a motion to adopt the ordinance of adopting the rate of tax levies for the fiscal year commencing July 1st, 2025 and ending June 30th, 2026.
I second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Jennifer, will you take roll call?
Ms. Cotter?
Aye.
Mr. Goodman?
Aye.
Ms. Turner?
Aye.
Mr. Hawk?
Aye.
Mr. Pickett?
Aye. Okay, that has passed. Thank you. Now the second business item. Consider an ordinance adopting the final 25-26 fiscal year budget for Murray City, including the library fund budget. Oh, you kind of mentioned it
I
last
personally have nothing more to say about this budget. I've been dealing with it since February. This is the final vote. Nothing has changed. So that's.
I have a question for you.
Uh-huh.
How does it feel?
It feels pretty good, except for in 2 weeks, we start over with the audit, so.
All right, wonderful. Thank you, Brenda. Any comments from the council? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve an ordinance adopting the final 2025-2026 fiscal year budgets for Murray City, including the library fund budget.
I second it.
We have a motion and a second. Jennifer?
Ms. Cotter?
Aye.
Mr. Goodman?
Aye.
Ms. Turner?
Aye.
Mr. Hawk?
Aye.
Mr. Pickett?
Aye. All right, it passes. Thank you. And the final business item comes from our very own Jennifer Kennedy about the calendar for the year 2025. We have a change.
Hello. So we just need to make a couple of changes to our August calendar. So our meetings in August will be on Tuesday, August 5th. We're going to hold all meetings in the council chambers because they'll be using the Poplar Conference Room for early voting. We're going to cancel our meetings on August 12th, and then we're going to add meetings to August 26th. We're going to have the Board of Canvassers, a Committee of the Whole, a council meeting, and possibly an RDA meeting if you guys want to change that. So if you haven't, answer any questions if you have them.
Any questions? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I would like to make a motion to approve the resolution amending the regular meeting schedule of the Murray City Municipal Council for calendar year 2025.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Jennifer, will you take the
Ms. Cotter?
Aye.
Mr. Goodman?
Aye.
Ms. Turner?
Aye.
Mr. Hawk?
Aye.
Mr. Pickett?
Aye. Thank you. That concludes the business items, and we are now down to our last item. Mayor Hales, would you give us your city report?
I will. It's just one item, but it's a minute long, so just give me a minute. But I just want to let you know a little bit on the progress, of Public Works. On June 25th, that's next week, Murray City will break ground on a brand-new Public Works campus, a big step forward in supporting our city's infrastructure. Public Works is the unsung hero of our daily lives, maintaining streets, water systems, wastewater, traffic signs, storm drains, and the city fleet. The current building is outdated and no longer meets ADA standards or modern service needs. The new facility will have full ADA compliance, energy efficiency with high-efficiency HVAC, LED lighting, and durable materials, a better resident experience with public restrooms. I love that they put that. Anyway, we're going to have public restrooms. Clear signage and comfortable waiting areas, a modern fleet service, which is really going to be nice. The modern fleet service will be all our vehicles being maintained from Cody there. With hydraulic pit, crane, and employee waiting area, new secure buildings for wastewater, stormwater, and sign divisions. The building, I hate to even read this part, expectation of completion is fall of 2027. That's pretty quick, really. I mean, I honestly checked on that and said, now, is this 2028 or, nope, 2027. So anyway, the project is a long-term investment in our resident service, safety, and quality of life. It's going to be a great, I know it's already been approved, but I just wanted to give you that information. Russ is excited. He will not allow me, I thought of you, Pam, but he will not allow me to do shovel. I said, come on, we're going to do that. And he goes, no, he's listening to us right now, so I know he's listening. Someone's listening anyway, but yeah, he just said, Brett, let's just get moving on this. So anyway, so we're not planning on doing any, we will in 2 years, but we're not going to do anything for just the groundbreaking. It's just, we're just letting you know, so. That's it.
That's your report. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
You're
And
welcome.
council, thank you for your time today, and everybody else who stuck around. And with that, we are adjourned.